Minister, can you provide an update on the second stage of the assessment process for the increased veterinary provision, including the details of on the selection criteria, the expert panel and ensuring international standards, the number of additional veterinary places that will be delivered and whether this will meet the current and future needs of the sector, and when will these places be delivered?
Thank you, and thank you to Deputy Conway-Walsh for the question. As I know the Deputy knows, the Higher Education Authority has now completed the first stage of an expression of interest process for higher education institutions interested in building capacity in dentistry, pharmacy, medicine, nursing and veterinary medicine. The second stage of this process has now commenced with the recent announcement by the Higher Education Authority of the appointment of an expert advisory panel to review the opportunities for new programmes covered by the process. The panel is comprised of representatives from government departments and regulatory and professional bodies that have direct professional experience and/or academic expertise in the relevant disciplines or knowledge of the higher education system at senior level. Higher education institutions are, as we all know, autonomous bodies, and they are responsible for their own day-to-day management and operational affairs, including the management of academic affairs and course provision. The accreditation of courses with the relevant regulatory authorities in Ireland and abroad is a matter for individual institutions in line with this autonomy. EU Directive 2005/36/EC provides for mutual recognition of qualifications of a range of professions, including veterinary surgeons, on the basis of coordinated minimum conditions of training. The Veterinary Council of Ireland is the competent authority as regulator with a robust accreditation process to ensure that all veterinary training in Ireland meets international standards. Any programmes, and I think this is important, deemed viable by the HEA will be subject to Veterinary Council of Ireland accreditation processes to validate them and to ensure high standards of veterinary medicine in Ireland through its accreditation. Such accreditation enables professional recognition in Ireland, which then further affords access to registration in the UK, Europe and beyond. As the expert panel is currently reviewing the applications, it's not possible to say at this time how many places may be delivered, though I expect to receive their report next month and happy to share with you then. The Higher Education Authority will consider opportunities for new programme provision alongside options for current programme expansion to develop a final list of options to present to me next month, and my department will then consider these options having regard to workforce plans and projected demands for graduates from relevant line departments. But in short, specifically in relation to veterinary, there is an expert panel in place. The Chief Veterinary Officer is represented on it, the Veterinary Council are represented on it, as is obviously the HEA and others, and I'll get a chance to go through perhaps the criteria in my next response.
Okay. Thank you, Minister. Just in relation to the figures, the figure of 302 qualified vets going on to the VCI register in 2022 shows a continuing rise year on year in the demand for vets, and 70% of new vets entering the register were educated outside Ireland. So that shows us the extent of the problem we have. So we are agreed on that. We are deeply concerned that the panel lacks an independent expert on veterinary education with recent experience as a practicing vet to assess and deliver a new veterinary programme that would be appropriately accredited. It is paramount that the new programme for veterinary medicine is fit for purpose and meets the standards set out by the regulatory bodies, such as the Veterinary Council of Ireland, as you said, but as well as the Royal College for Veterinary Surgeons. We need to look at, and you've agreed with me so many times, we have to look on the delivery of something like veterinary on an all-island basis, and we can't have an add-on situation. We're at a real crossroads here. We can get this really right now. I think there's an onus on us all and on you, Minister, to get it right now in terms of what we're going to deliver here.
No, challenge accepted. When I became Minister, the view in not just my department but the Department of Agriculture was that we had enough spaces, which I thought was kind of crazy. The only place providing veterinary medicine at the moment is UCD, and as the Deputy quite correctly says, and we've discussed on many occasions before, there's quite a number of Irish students studying abroad. 208 Irish students enrolled in the Veterinary Medicine Master's Programme in Warsaw, as an example. 78 Irish vets enrolled in Wrocław University in southwestern Poland, and so on. I think 190 in Budapest and Slovakia, attracting a smaller number there, kind of from a combination of media reports and reports available to my department. And yet we only have UCD providing it. So what we can't do, and I'm not suggesting you are doing, but what we really must not do, is suggest about one institution over the other. What we have here is a horizon scanning exercise, an expert panel. I do stand over the expert panel and their credibility and their authority as the chief vet, and indeed as the Veterinary Council. They'll do their work, they'll report to me in March. What can be done within existing programmes to expand, and can there be new schools created? created. We'll see what that menu of options gives us, and we'll take it forward in March.
Yeah, Minister, I really think given the level of investment here that's required, it's vital to get it right in terms of the education quality and the accreditation standards from the beginning. The institutes, and I'm not naming anyone in particular, the institute or the institutes indeed, because there could be collaboration between North and South, that are tasked with delivering the course must have the capacity to deliver from the get-go. That is a bottom line. They must be able to attract and to retain the best quality teaching staff, and they must be able to cater for the veterinary needs of the whole of the island. They must achieve, as I said, the Veterinary Council, the BCI and the Royal College of Veterinary Surgeons accreditation standards, particularly as a policy change is expected next year from the RCVS to move away from the European standard there. Vet practices operate across the border to ensure that we need to ensure that this continues. The new vet school needs to be capable of meeting those standards. Most importantly is the scale. We have such severe shortage of vets here. Any course provider, the initial minimum intake must be around 80 students with the capacity to expand 120 in the short term. We should also be looking at developing the graduate entry routes to expand access. We really can get this right. I feel confident that we can if we do it in the way that it needs to be done.
And we will get it right, Deputy, because I would imagine the best people to tell us what's needed in terms of veterinary qualifications is the Chief Vet and the Veterinary Council, and they are on it. And I wouldn't be so rude or as arrogant to suggest that I, or indeed other individuals, have views on this outside the House no better than them. I've very clearly outlined in the answer that there is an accreditation process. So even after the HEA process does its work, there's still an accreditation process that has to be gone through in terms of meeting standards. But let's be honest, and it's important to be, there are different people here who have different, not you or me by the way, different people here who have different views as to which college it should be, which university it should be. I'm happy for the expert panel to determine those options. I'm happy for the Veterinary Council and the Chief Vet to have confidence, just like I trust the Chief Medical Officer on medicine or the Chief Nurse on nursing. That's always been the approach we've taken. It's not my job as the Department of Further and Higher Ed to regulate or decide the regulatory professional standards. That is the regulatory body, the Veterinary Council. But we will get it right. I do agree with you on that. And we do need to be careful. The good news here is there's a lot of competition, which is a good thing. There's a lot of interest. And I'm happy now for the expert panel to do its work, independent and external of me, report back in March, and then in a very transparent way stand over the process and the outcomes.